Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome back to the FPL Scope for the first video of the 2025-2026 FPL season. The game has launched pretty recently. I just made a first draft really quickly without looking at anyone else's drafts, just to see what is the best possible team that I could come up with in the immediate aftermath of the game launching. So yeah, I've created a squad of 15 players, of course, which is the same for everyone. You have 100 million to spend on 15 players. I've tried to make a Salah and Haaland draft, but I've also provided an alternative if you don't want to go with both of them at the same time, because they are both pretty expensive. Salah being 14.5 million and Haaland being 14.0 million. It's pretty difficult to have both of them and still have a good team. But I think I've come up with a pretty good team here. I'm pretty happy with it. There are some iffy players. There's going to be a lot happening still, even though we're only like 3 weeks away now from Premier League launching or Premier League starting. So yeah, we have some pretty good indications of who is a good player, who's a bad player, but this is very much first drafts, just first impressions. These are the players that caught my eye immediately in terms of their prices and stuff. So yeah, just going to go through it from the goalkeeper onwards all the way through the bench and tell you why I've picked every single player. And then finally, I'm going to wrap up and talk about the Haaland less drafts with some other really high profile players. As you can see, they're already in the transfer tab. Palmer and Saka is a double you can be able to get there if you sell Haaland. So yeah, let's just go straight into it with the goalkeepers. First and foremost, 2 4.5 goalkeepers I've gone with. I do really like Petrovic for Bournemouth. Yes, they have lost both Dean Howson and they've lost Milos Kerkez in their back line, but they do also get back, or Senesi is going to start now in the absence of Howson. And yes, Howson is better, but because he is a Real Madrid player, obviously. But the main part about Howson is the fact that he was so young and so good. Like Senesi was actually the main starter before Howson took over the place there. And he was really good the season prior as well, so he's actually a pretty good option as well in the defensive department. But yeah, I'm going Petrovic. I do think he's a pretty clear upgrade over Kepa, like he was at Chelsea. He's had a really good season on loan to Strasbourg, I think. So yeah, even though he wasn't like super good with Chelsea, he was pretty solid, and I think he's like improved this past season as well. I think he's actually better than all the goalkeepers that Chelsea have available right now. So yeah, I think Bournemouth have a really good team in general. They've been really solid. They've had Iraola now for a couple of seasons. So yes, they have lost a couple really young, talented players, but they are mostly sold because they are young and talented. They are obviously really good players. Kerkez was one of the best left backs in the league last season. More so offensively though, so maybe not defensively. It's not going to be too bad. And then Howson was obviously also really a defender, but Senesi is more than capable of filling in. And especially if they keep Sabarni, that's the thing. Sabarni has been linked with PSG and stuff. He's also really, really good, but he's still at the club. So as of right now, I do think Bournemouth have a really decent defensive side. And I also think, as you can see on the bench there, I can talk about him as well now. Julian Araujo as well on the bench there. He's only 4.0, and he did actually play quite a few games when he wasn't injured last season. He did start quite a lot over Adam Smith there at the right back position. So I think he has a decent chance of starting. So I think he's a really nice gem to have, potential really cheap defender to have on the bench at least. But yeah, we've been burnt before. Last season we had Valentin Barco, who we thought was going to start for Brighton, and he was loaned out and never played a single minute in the Premier League. So yeah, sometimes those things mess up, but I do think Araujo has a decent chance of starting, and he's just a backup anyway. We do have 4 pretty good defenders that can play in his place, and we can just go through those defenders straight away. The immediate defender that caught my eye was Gabriel. I thought for real he was going to be 6.5 this time because he's just such a good goal threat and just really good defensive player. Arsenal are so solid defensively. We can really trust them to be a really good defense, more so than I think for both Liverpool and Man City. And Gabriel is just a no-brainer to me. Like 6.0, I really thought it was going to be 6.5 to make it more difficult to choose him. I still potentially would have chosen him at 6.5, but at 6.0, I think it's just too good to pass up, really. He's such a good centre-back. He plays every single game when he's fit to play for Arsenal, and he is such a goal threat, so good defensively. Yeah, he's just an amazing pick and someone that I'm always favored to choose in FPL. So yeah, he's a pretty easy choice for me in defense. Also try to target the Everton defense because they have really good matches and they do have really pricey defenders. Pickford was 5.5 because he's been the best goalkeeper the last 2 seasons in a row. And that meant that they put Tarkovsky and Branthwaite also at 5.5, which I think is a bit steep. 5.0 I think is better. You could go Mikolenko, you could go with O'Brien. I think O'Brien is better both for defensive contributions with the new rules that are in place and also the goal threat compared to Mikolenko. Mikolenko has had spurts of goal threat in the past, but he hasn't really been that offensively minded. And I think like David Moyes fullbacks as well don't typically get that many goals and stuff either. But O'Brien can score from corners. That's something that David Moyes is really adept at handling. Offensive set pieces. I think O'Brien is really, really good. He is slightly more of a risk for losing his place. He was more like a makeshift right back this past season for Everton, but he did play pretty well, and I think he is pretty favored to start there as well. But I could just go with Mykolenko if I have doubts about O'Brien's playing time. But yeah, I think an Everton defender is pretty good, especially for the start of the season. They have some pretty easy matches. I'll get to the Game Week 1 matches once I've gone through the squad, because I have all the matches as well, if you're curious about which teams these guys are playing in the first game week. But I figured the pricing was more the main issue now, because we don't really know the prices. Like, that's pretty new to us, what prices these players are, including me. So I figured that would be a better visualizing aspect for the video, basically. The final player in the main defenders that I have, I guess, is Lacroix, Maxence Lacroix from Crystal Palace. He's only 4.5, which is really good. I think Palace are decent, solid defensively. And the defensive contributions thing, Lacroix was actually in those lists that FPL provided to us to show players that were really good defensively in terms of the defensive contribution points. So I think Lacroix could be a really nice get this season. 4.5 is really cheap. It's really expensive. Like the center backs for Everton are 5.5. The centre backs for Nottingham Forest are 5.5 as well. So I think Lacroix for 4.5 is quite a steal, because he was really good last season as well. And he is a FIFA legend for his pace. He's just been really good, really solid. He's a starter for Palace. And I think he's really, really good. Also, make note of Shadi Riyad, who is still injured for Palace, but I think once he's back, he's going to be starting, and he's 4.0 as well. So eventually this season, I think he's going to be good. But yeah, Lacroix, I think, is really, really good. For 4.5, I think he's a pretty simple choice for me, actually. So yeah, he's in the squad as well. Mohamed Salah, just have to have him. I feel like he's always so good, especially at the start of the season. I just wouldn't dare going without him. He has Bournemouth at home in the first game. I would captain him in the first game as well. I think he is the most essential out of him and Haaland. I think Salah is the better one, because obviously I have a Haaland alternative team, not a Salah alternative team. I also don't really think the midfield options are that good this season. Like, I think most people in midfield have been priced pretty highly. Bowen has been turned into a striker for some reason, because he played striker last season with Fulkrug injured and stuff. So that's another option gone from the midfielders. So yeah, I'm a bit worried about the midfield this season, actually. I'm not quite certain about any of those players. But yeah, I've gone with 5 that I quite like. Salah, I do really like. 14.5 is still a decent price, I think, for him. Egyptian King, both him and Marmoush I have in the squad. But Salah, first and foremost, just an easy captaincy choice every single game week. I do quite like the Salah Haaland mixture as well, because I do like having like the most expensive player. Because if Haaland just starts banging in goals from the get-go and you don't have him, it's going to be so difficult to make up the funds and get him in. It's much easier if Haaland is like meh, if he does like decently, and you can just sell Haaland and have a lot of money to upgrade whoever you want, basically, to whoever you want. Like, it's more flexibility that way. So I do prefer starting with Salah and Haaland. I did that last season when everyone started with Haaland and no Salah, and that worked out really well for me. The fact that I had both of them from the start, because that was the template pretty early on before Haaland started tapering off and not being that good eventually. But he was really good last season. Well, we'll get to Haaland eventually. But yeah, Salah, no-brainer, captain's pick. Pretty simple choice for me. So yeah, he's there. Marmoush as well, his compatriot from Egypt. I think he's really, really good. 8.5 in midfield. I did expect him to be turned into a midfielder, because he played more as a winger last season, and I think that's a really good price. It seems to me that he's going to be starting most games for Man City. He is really good on set pieces, all that stuff. Potentially penalties as well, because we remember Haaland missed some penalties and gave the penalties away. Marmoush did miss a penalty, I think, in the end, so we'll see who's on penalties there. But Marmoush for 8.5 could be a really, really good like steal, basically. So we've seen in the past some Man City attackers using some time to get acquainted to the league and stuff, and then starting to bang in goals, and I think Marmoush is one of them. He had kind of a low-key end to the season where he didn't really do too much, but he was really dangerous and had some really good chances. I was there at the Etihad Stadium to watch him miss a couple of really huge chances against Crystal Palace, and I think within this season he's going to be more than ready to start and be really, really good. But they do have some really good options on the wing there. Manchester City, they also have Ryan Shirky now, who is stepping in the Kevin De Bruyne role. He's also pretty cheap and pretty interesting at 6.5. So if he's starting or looking likely to start, he's also someone you could consider. But for me, Marmoush, in terms of starts in the Pep Roulette system, basically, I think he's pretty good for starts. I think he's going to start like 3 out of 4 games probably for Man City, and that's good enough for me in terms of having him in my midfield, because there are some midfielders I don't really feel too good about. Morgan Rogers was so good for me last season, 7.0. I think just because of the price hike, him just being a bit of a troll last season for a lot of people, he was really good for me. I think a lot of people are going to be throwing him aside, sort of like Mateta last season. People were just like, yeah, he's like a one-season wonder type of thing. But Rodgers is really good. We know how good he is. And I do think Aston Villa have some really nice fixtures to start the season as well. So both Rodgers and Watkins are definitely in my thoughts. Watkins I'll talk more about when it comes to the no Haaland option potentially. But yeah, Rodgers just really solid. He picks up goals and assists here and there everywhere. The key is just to start him. He's now a 7.0 midfielder. You're going to start him every week. You're not going to bench him. Last season, he was 5.0 from the start of the season, and it felt like natural to bench him just because of his price. But he was a 7.0 starter last season, and you should have just started him most matches because he is a really good player. So yeah, I think he's really, really good. I'm a huge fan of Morgan Rodgers. And that's why I picked him for 7.0, which is still a pretty cheap price for like a really attacking midfielder who's super nailed for like a Champions League potential side that aren't even in the Champions League. They have probably less trouble than last season. Like last season, Rodgers played every single minute in the Champions League on top of every single minute in the Premier League. This season, maybe he'll get rested a bit more in the Europa League, which is a bit easier to go through. And so yeah, Rodgers I think is a really nice, decent option. But yeah, not super enthused about him, but he is a really decent option at that mid-price level around 7.0, 6.5, 7.5. I don't think there's that many good options there. So I think Rodgers is one of them. Kevin Schade as well, a bit too pricey for my liking at 7.0, but I think he is better than, like, I think 6.5 and below are just really bad options in FPL from what I've seen, at least from the first glance. But yeah, Kevin Schade, I think he's going to be stepping up massively this season without Mbeumo, probably. Mbeumo is leaving for Man United, it seems like. And I think Schade showed last season, towards the end of last season, he had some really nice potential there when he's going to be the main guy, the main focal point potentially at Brentford. Him and Wissa could be the new super partnership there. Thomas Frank has left Brentford, which is obviously a downside, but they have hired a guy within the Brentford systems. I think they're going to play the same sort of way from what I can tell, at least. Maybe I'll have to deep dive a bit more into Brentford and how they're going to change under the new manager. But I think Kevin Schade has just a lot of potential. He showed some of that potential last season with a hat-trick, at least one hat-trick, maybe he had two hat-tricks even. He had some really high-scoring game weeks last season. So I think he's also a really nice hidden gem potentially in this game, even though he is a bit too pricey. I was hoping he was going to be 6.5 and he's going to be like a really nice option, but 7.0 is a bit steep. But in the lack of other options at a cheaper price, I've just gone with Kevin Schade for Brentford. Finally, Luis Guilherme for West Ham. I'm a West Ham fan, as you can see from my West Ham kit, so I do know quite a few things about West Ham. And one of the things is the fact that Kudus has been sold. Somerville is his name. He is injured, so I think Guilherme is going to start from the get-go this season. He had some really nice, promising games last season. He was linked with the move to Saudi Arabia and stuff, but that sort of died down. It seems like Graham Potter is a bit of a fan of him as well, so I think he has a really good chance of starting with Kudus out basically for West Ham. So for 5.0 as a starter for West Ham, Sunderland in the first game as well. I think that's a nice little punt to have for a really cheap price. And we have to go really cheap with this team because we have both Haaland and Salah. So yeah, getting back to Haaland now, 14.0, really steep price, but we've seen in the past how good he can be. And like I said, I just feel like it's easier to sell Haaland than to bring him in if he is suddenly really, really good and is back on form. Because we know last season he scored like hat-tricks every single game, it seemed like, for the first like 5 game weeks. The season prior to that, he scored every single game, it seemed like, had like 10 goals in the first 5 games in his Premier League career. So yeah, Haaland is just tremendous, and yeah, it just feels bad going without either him or Salah. But yeah, you have to make some sacrifices. No Palmer, no Saka. That is the main part, but we'll get to that eventually. I'll just go through the rest of the squad now first. Accompanying him up top for as the striker, we have an Everton striker, and I'm still not quite sure if it's Tierno Barry, who they brought in from Villarreal, or if it's going to be Beto, who's going to start there again. Beto actually played quite a few matches towards the end of last season. It seems like he has a fan in David Moyes, and he actually played really well under David Moyes. So it seems like he's the starter, at least according to Kevin, who is my co-host on the FPL Go podcast. At least he's an Everton fan, and he says Beto's going to start. So yeah, I'd have to take that for what it's worth. And Beto is worth less than Barry as well. He's 5.5, so that would save me some money as well, because the squad value that I have now, 100 million, is with Barry in mind. But yeah, could potentially save 0.5 if Beto is the starting striker there. That's going to be interesting to see if one of them is like the standout starting option there for Everton. But again, one of the drawbacks to having Haaland is the fact that I don't have a second really good striker. So yeah, but I think Everton, really solid fixtures. If one of those guys stands out as the main guy, the main starter for Everton, I think whoever starts up front for Everton is going to be a really good pick. So yeah, depending on who is the starter for Everton, I'm going to pick him potentially if I do this Haaland and Salah draft eventually this season. On the bench, Areola, typical bench West Ham. Actually means that I have triple up on West Ham. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased, but I don't actually think Areola is going to be the starting goalkeeper for the start of the season. I do think West Ham are going to bring in a goalkeeper. They were linked with Zion Suzuki from Japan, from Parma. He looks like a really good goalkeeper, but there's the rumors have kind of died down there a bit. So I think Areola is going to be subbed off. He should be switched out as the number one goalkeeper now that Fabianski is left, and West Ham need a new number one goalkeeper. Areola wasn't really that good last season at all, basically. So yeah, I think West Ham are going to get a new goalkeeper. So a West Ham goalkeeper for 4.5 with the fixtures that they have, I think is a decent choice. And he's also the West Ham goalkeepers do. Or whoever is the starting goalkeeper for West Ham will be rotating pretty well with Petrovic, who has a really tough opening fixture, where Areola has, or West Ham, the West Ham goalkeeper has Sunderland, which is really, really nice. So yeah, but I'm going to mostly stick with Petrovic as the starting goalkeeper. That's why he's in the starting lineup, despite him having a tough Game Week 1 fixture, obviously. So the starting lineup for Game Week 1 is going to be different, but mainly Petrovic is going to be my goalkeeper because I do think him for 4.5 is a really good price for Bournemouth, who I think are going to be a decent team defensively this season. I also have Wan-Bissaka on the bench from West Ham. That's my third West Ham player. 4.5 for Wan-Bissaka seems like a steal. Like he was super attacking last season. He is one of those guys who, despite being like a attacking fullback at times, he is known for his defensive contributions. I think he's going to be pretty good in that aspect as well. Decent at least. So he has some attacking threat, has some defensive potential to get some points, and he's 4.5, which I think is a really good price. West Ham have brought in Kyle Walker-Peters. They have brought in El Hadji Malik Diouf as well, who is a left back. So there is some competition for places there, but Wan-Bissaka was like, apart from Bowen at least, he was like the best player for West Ham by far, apart from Bowen. So yeah, I think he's going to be a nailed right wing back, it seems like, for Graham Potter and his system this season. So yeah, I think he's going to be a really good player to have this season. So yeah, decent player to have mainly on the bench, but starting in Game Week 1, as we'll see on the next slide. Araujo, I already touched upon. He is someone that could potentially play at right back for 4.0 at Bournemouth, so I think that's really, really good. Doubling up with two West Ham and Bournemouth defenders might not be the best case, so maybe I have to change the goalkeepers or something. I don't know. Haven't thought too much into it. Maybe I'll go with just like a 5.0 starting goalkeeper and a 4.0 backup. That could also be a nice case, but I looked at the 4.5 goalkeepers. I do prefer those guys. There's usually one 4.5 goalkeeper that stands out above the rest, like we saw with Matt Sells last season, so I'm trying to spread my luck around, I guess, with two 4.5 goalkeepers, and hopefully one of them can be really, really good for the rest of the season, pretty much. But goalkeepers I always struggle with at the start of the season, so don't really pay too much attention to that anyway. The final bench player that I have is Marc Guy from Chelsea, who is not going to be at Chelsea if he's in my team. He is strongly linked with a loan move away from Chelsea now, potentially with Leeds. That's the main transfer rumor currently. So if he is the starting striker for Leeds for 4.5, that is an absolute steal, because Marc Guy is actually a really good striker. He scored like 6 goals from 16 matches, I think, last season for Chelsea, most of them in the Conference League against pretty weak opposition, but he is actually a really good striker. I did see his debut for Barcelona, actually, back in the day. Like more than a year ago, slightly more than a year ago now, or almost 2 years ago now. And he is a really good striker, so I think if he goes to Leeds, he's going to be a really nice player to have, and just like a nice bench option. If he plays, he's going to be really good. If he gets loaned out to either Leeds or someone else in the Premier League, I think he could be really, really good. But he could also be loaned out to La Liga and be another Barco, I guess. So yeah, maybe not buy too much of the hype with him, if there is any hype at all. I haven't really checked. I haven't checked any other team, so yeah. So this is my first draft without looking at anyone else's team, basically. I think it's a pretty good team overall, but it has some drawbacks, mainly just because I have spent so much money on Salah and Haaland. There's not much left for anyone else, and like I said, don't really like that many midfielders, so maybe you want to spread the money around and have some of the more like decent strikers that we have. So that's what I've done with the other option, no Haaland option. You can upgrade 2 midfielders, and you can also upgrade the second striker next to Haaland as well. So that's what I've done. Haaland to Evan Nilsson. I think that's like slightly my preference. I might also go with Chris Wood. He has really good fixtures. Nottingham Forest have brought in a new striker, but I think Chris Wood is going to start. And with the fixtures that they have and how good he started last season as well, I think Chris Wood might really have a really good chance of starting in my team this season. I'll see what FPL Harry does, because he always picks the right strikers for some reason. So, but yeah, Chris Wood is potentially in the squad. But I go with Evan Nilsson just because I have sort of like a soft spot for Bournemouth. I do think a lot of Iraola with their team, and I think they're pretty good. They still have all the players offensively, and if they do concede more goals, I don't think they're going to concede that many more goals. But if they do, if their defense isn't as good as it was before, then they need to score more goals. And Evan Nilsson, a fit, injury-free, healthy Evan Nilsson is really, really good for Bournemouth. So yeah, I think he is going to be a really good option. So yeah, him in for Haaland, that gives you a lot of money to spend elsewhere. Schade and Rodgers, I do quite like both of them, but I do quite like Palmer and Saka quite a bit more as well. But obviously they're more expensive. But with the extra funds from selling Haaland, you can actually afford Palmer and Saka for Schade and Rodgers. Saka, I think, is just like the second game against Leeds at home. I think that's just really, really good. Potentially a triple captaincy type of thing as well. Arsenal will need to win those games early because they need to really make a statement early on in the season. I think Saka could do it now that he's fully healthy and ready to play. So yeah, I think he's really good as well. Palmer obviously was really good in the Club World Cup final, even though I didn't watch a single minute of the Club World Cup. I've been told that he looked really good. He's on penalties obviously for Chelsea, and he is just a really good player who also usually starts seasons really, really well. So yeah, Palmer also a really good option there for Kevin Schade, who's a bit more expensive than I would have liked, like I mentioned previously. What it also allows you, selling Haaland, is the fact that you can upgrade the Everton striker to Danny Welbeck, who is my favorite 6.5 striker. We always scoff at Danny Welbeck. He's just a nobody. He's been in the league for so long. We don't really consider him as an option, but he's a penalty-taking striker who's going to start for Brighton, who have really good fixtures as well. And he started off last season on fire. He struggles usually with injuries and stuff, but he is injury-free as of right now. So yeah, I think he's a really good option. He's someone that I would definitely consider in there as well. So if I could downgrade Schade potentially as well in midfield with Haaland, I could also just bring in Welbeck rather than the Everton striker who is going to start as well. So that is another option for Game Week 1 basically. But yeah, talked for about 20 minutes now. Let's just look at how the team is looking for Game Week 1 if I would go for this. Some really decent fixtures here. You can see double West Ham against Sunderland. I think that's really, really nice for the first game. Everton, both O'Brien and whoever's the starting striker against Leeds. Again, another newly promoted side. I think that's really, really good. Arsenal against Man United. I do think Man United, they have some really nice firepower now. They could potentially score, but we can also see Gabriel scoring a corner goal potentially as well, or keeping a clean sheet because he's just that good. So he has to start, obviously. Salah captain against Bournemouth at home. I think that's a decent fixture, even though I have some Bournemouth players here. I've benched both of them for the fixture against Liverpool, as you can see. Marmoush against Wolves. I think Wolves against Man City is usually a pretty high-scoring affair, so I think having both Marmoush and Haaland would be really, really nice against Wolves. I think that's going to be a really fun opening fixture with potentially a lot of goals. So I think those guys are really good. Newcastle against, or Aston Villa against Newcastle could be a goal fest. We've seen that in the past. 2 seasons ago, I think, when, was it Newcastle that won 5-1 that game, I think, or Aston Villa that beat them 5-1? Either team won the game 5-1, but it was a really open affair with two teams that were really attacking and really good. So I think that could happen again. And Rodgers is someone that I really, really like for this season. So yeah, Rodgers is there in midfield against Newcastle at home. Kevin Schade against Nottingham Forest away. We've seen Nottingham Forest be a bit of a weaker side this season, selling Alanga, potentially selling Gibbs White as well. And I think Schade could be really good. But that is a tough fixture away to Forest. But yeah, it's a decent option still. Because Kevin Schade is a really good player who can score against anyone, basically. Luis Guillermo against Sunderland. I think that's, again, really, really nice to have triple West Ham against Sunderland. That's the main part. And then just going to bench Ariola and Wan-Bissaka and Guillermo for that matter, probably for the most part, especially if you spread the money around, if you sell Haaland, for example. But yeah, I think him against Sunderland is a really nice starting option there as well. Yeah, on the bench, the two Bournemouth guys against Liverpool away, Lacroix against Chelsea away, and Mark Yu against Palace at home if he stays with Chelsea and he's not going to play. Or if he goes on loan to Leeds, that would be against Everton at home, which is a decent fixture. So you could potentially start Yu over Schade, for example, if he's loaned out. But we have to wait and see if that happens, basically. But yeah, if that loan move happens, I think this team is really strong. If that loan move doesn't happen, then I think it's a bit lacking because having to rely on Guillermo as one of the main starting attackers is not ideal. So you'd have to spread the money around, I guess, by selling Schade potentially if you do want to keep Haaland and Salah. Or you can do the alternate route and have Palmer and Saka and some other good strikers alongside, or rather than Haaland and the Everton striker. That's also a decent option for the first game week of the season. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I have to go meet a friend who's visiting from New York. So yeah, just had to make this video as soon as possible for the FPL launch, basically. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're a first-time viewer, hopefully you'll subscribe. I'm really close to 1,000 subscribers, which would be really nice. So please subscribe if you haven't already. Yeah, I also hope you like the new graphics, the new intro, everything that's new with this channel, new thumbnail. Try to refurbish it a little bit and make it a bit more professional and make it look a bit better. And also, to my surprise, or to my, yeah, I didn't really plan on this when I made the basically the slides for these videos, because it is pretty like dark. I have sort of like a Northern Lights type of theme with like a dark sky with Northern Lights like FPL color, neon green there. And to my pleasant surprise, I guess, the FPL has also changed its design a little bit, which is really dark and has a lot of those colors. So it is actually really fitting with the FPL scheme as well, these colors that I have. Gone more with the neon green rather than with the orange. I do still have some orange. That is still the brand FPL Scope, coming from the Macho Man Randy Savage. That's inspired from him. If you don't know him, if you're not a wrestling fan. But anyways, I'm blabbering at the end of the video like I usually do. I gotta get out of here and meet my friend and eat some food basically. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe. Please let me know in the comments as well if you like the new setup. If you have any issues with my team, any other hidden gems that you've seen or anything like that. Be really happy to hear your thoughts about everything and anything when it comes to FPL basically. And yeah, I'm gonna have some more videos as well. I'm gonna try to record a video with Kevin later on today before he leaves for Sri Lanka, because we're both gonna go to his brother's wedding in Sri Lanka. I'm gonna leave in a couple weeks. He's gonna leave now tomorrow, so we're gonna try to make 1 or 2 videos at least with Kevin before he leaves, so get some of his thoughts as well, both on Everton players like O'Brien and Barry or Beto, or just in general his squad as well. I'm gonna try to make a video with his thoughts on the new rules and my thoughts on the new rules, and then his Gaming 1 squad. And we're also potentially gonna make a video with some of the new signings and what you can expect from those guys. I haven't even mentioned Florian Wirtz in this video. He's 8.5. He's also a decent option to have for sure. But yeah, just not in love with the Liverpool fixtures enough to have a double up with him and Salah, and I need to have Salah. You can't cover Salah with Wirtz basically. Anyways, that's me blabbering. That's me done with the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. You can also, that's the final thing I'll tell you, if you haven't already, you can join the FPL Scope Mini League with the new league code, which is FNPQ83. If you type that into the join league section, you'll find it, I'm sure. Ask ChatGPT for advice if you can't. If you join the league, that would be really, really nice as well, because we have a really nice fun league there. And I am also, that's something, if you're new to the channel, if you're still watching this as well, if you watched the whole video, even me blabbering at the end here, great for retention, hopefully, if you've done that. But yeah, if you're in the mini league, you have the chance to become the manager of the week if you have the highest score for any particular game week. That's also a nice little perk of being in the FPL Scope Mini League as well. So yeah. Finally, I'm done. Thank you for watching again. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm so glad to be back. So pumped to make 1,000 drafts before the start of the season and explore everything with you guys and yeah, try to figure out the best squad for Game Week 1. I'll have plenty of videos to come for the next 3 weeks. Don't worry about that. I'm going to have a lot of content. So stay tuned, subscribe. Stay tuned. Yeah, stay tuned, subscribe. And please enjoy me rambling about FPL for this coming season. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.